world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It is May 16th, 2014. It is the Friday edition. I like to be a bit energetic and positive on Fridays, although I've been trying to be positive and put out more positivity almost on every broadcast as of late. But still, Fridays are always a fun broadcast for me. Maybe it's because it's the end of the week. I don't know. It's kind of like when you go to work on Friday and you're like, woohoo! I don't care what happens today. The end of the work week is here. Woohoo! Anyway, I'm excited. I have a good friend back on the broadcast. She's been on here before, since I've been on Truth Frequency, and she was on the broadcast many other times before that. So she is an old friend of the broadcast, an all-around awesome person. She's a radio show host, researcher, super mom, kickboxer, and part-time comedian. So without wasting any more time, let me bring my good friend Joni Abbott back to the airwaves for you. Joni, welcome back.
Hey, thanks so much. It's Friday. It's Friday. You know that song, don't you? From the 70s? You're going to get jiggy with it? Is that it?
Oh, my God. Shag carpeting. Ooh.
That's right. Boom, chicka, wow, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
We're aging ourselves. You know that, right?
We are. I know. It's okay. It's okay because our guests are now entertained fully. I hope. Maybe we're the only ones laughing.
No, well, they're laughing. I just don't know if they're laughing with us.
With us or at us.
Yes. Well, this leads me to my first topic tonight that I want to chat with you about.
Really? Okay.
Stress relief.
Oh, gosh. Laughter. And, big O's.
The big O.
It's part of it. We had that conversation. Well, I said, what do you want to talk to me about tonight? You said stress relief. I'm like, sex. But that doesn't always, when it's not available.
It is a stress relief.
It can be.
That is very truthful. Let's see, sex, laughing, exercise.
Exercise, is amazing. Also, yoga, which some people say is a form of exercise, and it is, but it's also this just amazing place and space that you get into, and the poses that you hold, and it doesn't always have to be really difficult and feel like a ton of exercise, but it's just so good for the soul and so good for the body as well. Meditation is another.
Which is kind of part of yoga, I guess, because there's certain aspects of yoga like if you're in what is it, Shavasana, and
Yeah.
at the end of a routine, and you're laying there. That's when everybody starts crying. Yes, I've done yoga. I've done yoga.
yet to do yoga in a public place because I am so afraid of some bodily function just going off.
Well, if you're in a yoga studio, if you ever go to like a yoga class somewhere, you're going to hear somebody fart in the middle of class. It just happens.
Or worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it happens because you're squeezing there's actually a pose called wind removing pose.
Nice.
Where you're actually, you end up constricting your stomach muscles.
Right.
And that's what it does, is it removes all the excess gas in your stomach and it forces it out. Well, I mean, that makes you thinner, right? And you're not as bloated, so.
Yes, I guess. Once you get so, like as a woman, as a female, I mean, I've lost a lot of weight, but I still have some little, trouble areas, let's say. So like once you're permanently bloated in an area, it just does not matter how much gas you release, it's still there. So I don't know. It's funny to me. I'm like, yeah, it's permanently.
But you women are walking chemistry sets too.
We are.
Literally, like I'm not being a facetious male misogynist prick when I say that. You guys are literally walking chemistry sets. I mean, I know the human body is really a chemistry set, but come on, women. One little thing goes off, and all of a sudden, like one little chemical's imbalance, and horns grow, a tail comes out, and fangs come out. You guys are scary, no?
Are you calling me the Exorcist?
No. You all have that capability.
Did you look at her? Head starts spinning.
Oh God.
Oh, that's so fun. No, we are mysterious creatures, and I think that we are no more or less mysterious than the male species. That's why I think that guy wrote that. John Gray wrote "Men are from Mars, women are from," "Men are from Mars, women are from Venus." We're just from two different planets.
Did you ever read that book?
I interviewed him on a morning show that I used to do.
Really?
Yeah, he was really cool. And what's funny is I vaguely remember it, but I just remember having the conversation about, men and women being so different and why he, thought to put them from two different planets in the book. And I just, other than that, yeah, like, golly, it was, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago that I interviewed him. So it's been a while.
Yeah, I remember the book. I read it probably about that length of time ago. Somebody had given me a copy of it, and they were like, hey, you should check this out. And some of it I thought was a little wacky. I mean, obviously men and women are two different creatures, but I think that we, all kidding aside, I do really think that we complement one another.
Absolutely. I think when we start polarizing, like I had this epiphany not too long ago that I am having this human experience in a woman body, right? So because this whole battle of the sexes and everything that's so polarizing, I just look at it like, really, we're these two souls, and I don't remember filling out the application that, I was going to be here on a woman's body. Don't ever recall that conversation. Some people might disagree with me, but I'm just going to, that's my story and I'm sticking to it kind of a thing until I know differently. And we're just having these, two different experiences, but we're both human, and we need these, that we have, our needs are very similar. We all need the same thing. And I just cannot see, I kind of like the balancing of the yin and the yang, or the balancing of the male-female energy, and understanding that we all have it. It's just one's more dominant than the other in the sex of it.
I agree. We're all just here having the experience. And I often wonder, what makes where the choice is made that makes us a male or a female. I mean, everything is about choice. So now we're getting deep, Joni. Jesus, it's not.
Oh, here we go.
It's not even 10 minutes in.
I know. No, we flew down the rabbit hole. We're in the Olympic match now of the rabbit hole.
Jesus, we were doing stress relief 5 minutes ago.
And now we're going to stress out about who filled out the application to be a male or a female.
Right.
Remember asking for a penis? I don't.
Well, if you buy into the new age stuff, like Sylvia Brown, she's that psychic that just died a couple months back, but she was this like famous psychic. She's a good example. Yeah. She used to tell people, we pick our own stuff, we choose all of our own hardships. I don't know about that. I don't really know if we pick all of our own crap. I think in maybe in essence we do. I don't think we do it before we come here. I think it's kind of more like quantum physics, where if you understand quantum physics, they realized that when they were looking for these quantum particles, they would show up when they were at the direct spot that they were looking for them, and they realized that it was choice that was making that particle appear, in that location at that particular time, because there's so many different, possibilities when it comes to quantum physics. So I think that, we might produce our lives or create them. Like we make our decisions. We do pick what we go through, but I don't think it's done beforehand. I think it's actually done as we're, that's why this movie is a continuous, everyday new thing. It's not something that was already mapped out. It's being made as we live. That's why you can change it. See, if you think that your whole
predetermined somehow,
if everything is predetermined, you can't change anything.
And then where's free will come in, right?
It doesn't work. So,
yeah, well, I don't have all the answers on that. I really don't. These are the questions that, don't necessarily keep me up at night, but I do think about them every once in a while, kind of like now. But I'm more like spiritually, almost, I don't know, a little more faith-based in the aspect of, like, I believe we have a creator. I believe the universe is this magnificent source of energy, this magnificent, electrical universe that we have out there, and that, we're that, again, like you said, that we create our movie as we go along. We're picking these choices, and the subconscious decisions or conscious decisions that we make really affect our outcome. Like I believe in epigenetics. I believe that our DNA has memory. So, like, for instance, cycles of abuse, you can go back to generations before and see how that affects our human experience now, because DNA, like I said, has memory. And that was something that I've just really learned about recently. It was interesting. I discovered some papers in my grandmother's closet after she passed away, but it was like a year after she died. I discovered this manila envelope, right? So we've moved everything out of my grandmother's house. Everything's been moved out. There's nothing, in the house of hers anymore. And there will be times where I'll find a note that's handwritten from her, or like, a contact information, like a piece of an address book. And not too long ago, I discovered a manila envelope, and in it had, golly, some writings from like the late 1700s, 1800s, old family members recounting and telling stories of our families, of our ancestors' lives. And some of it was quite abusive. And I was just like, oh my gosh, how long has this cycle been going on in my family? It was just really, really interesting.
Life is an interesting
Did I
experience.
lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm just in deep thought. I'm sitting here. I'm listening to what you're saying, and now I'm off in my own little deep thoughts here. Life is just so interesting, but you have to look at it to notice it. Did you ever notice that? If you get caught up, and this is how we're controlled, but you get so caught up in the mundane, everyday, garbage that you think is really important. Household chores, taking the kids to school, trash, food shopping, blah, 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 blah. There are times that, like, I find if you're not paying attention, you walk right, the universe sends you signals tons of times and you just don't see it. Right. You know what I mean? Like, how many times have you walked past something before you finally noticed it and you're like, oh my God. And all of a sudden it's like, bing, the light bulb just goes on in your head. So life is so interesting. When people say that they're bored, they wake up and they're like, oh, I'm bored, I have nothing to do today. I want to slap them when they say that.
Oh man, I'm so busy. I don't have time to be bored. I don't have, there's always something that I want to engage my mind in, or learn about, or research, or, it's like the list is forever long. And there's times I actually have to make myself, and here's where I'm going to tie back in and segue into stress relief, right? Stop myself to make sure that I do stop and smell the roses, right? That I do stop and take time to play, do the things that I love doing, painting, or, that was a recent adventure I can tell you about, but that was something I did for stress release recently and realized I had no clue how to paint. But
Was that stressful in and of itself, not knowing how to
No,
paint?
because I decided I went to this master painting class. So I went and I visited a friend, and we did like this, 2 to 3 day juice fast. We did all these far infrared saunas. We just had like a detox weekend. And she says, "Oh, my oil painting class is today. He's a master artist, and he has, art hanging galleries all over the, United States." And I thought, oh, that's intimidating because I paint stick people. I thought, crap, how am I going to do this, right? I've never had an art class in my whole entire life. So I show up like I think I know what I'm doing, and they start talking to me about concepts and shaping and drawing out shapes, and I'm hearing them, but it was like, want, because I had no clue what they meant. They were using artist terms that were so foreign to me. So I'm watching them paint, and I'm trying to, it's like the kid that cheats on the test, right? You got to watch everybody else to figure out how you're going to do it. So I was trying, and finally I'm like, I got the spirit of Bob Ross. I'm going to stick a tree right here in the middle. That's exactly what I did.
The spirit of Bob Ross, happy little trees.
Yep.
Oh, that guy was awesome.
I loved Bob Ross, right? So I was just like, we're going to have it happen. And I start laughing in the middle of all this, and these very serious painters, turning around, looking at me like, what is she laughing about? Because I'm like, Betty Rubble on the, paintbrush. And so I just was like, we're going to put a big tree right here in the middle. Oh, looky there, a little bird there. How about a little squirrel? I just decided to, play kindergarten with it and have fun instead of get stressed out because I don't have mastery skills in painting with my first lesson. So that was fun. That was a good stress relief.
You know what? You don't even have to be a Michelangelo or anything to go do this stuff. I mean, look how much fun you had just screwing around.
Yeah.
And just pretending to be Bob Ross for an hour and putting a happy little tree here or a happy little tree there. I mean, that
it was kind of to cover a mistake, but
Yeah, but you know what? Look how much fun you're having talking about it. Look at you. You're laughing talking about it, and I can see the smile on your face. That means that got rid of some negative energy and brought in some positive energy. So that's good. I mean, people need to do stuff like that. They need to go out and take a class on a Saturday. Do something you've never done before.
Right. Or, I mean, you know what I love doing? I love going on the swings at the park. My kids will go swing. Why don't people play with their kids? That's the thing that I'm just as guilty as every other mom of like, oh, I need a break. They need to go play. I'm going to sit here and gather my thoughts for 10 minutes, or 20 or an hour, whatever. But there are times when I was like, just decided, I should probably go play with them. And swinging is one of my favorite things to do at the park. And recently, the last park we went to, we did cartwheels. We were all doing cartwheels. And my daughter snapped some pictures. You'll see them on Facebook. But yeah, it was fun. We just go out and just be a kid. Don't, tune into that inner child and feed that. Do the things that you're passionate about. Otherwise, you just get, like you said, so caught up in the mundane that you just almost forget that fun side of you exists. And I did that for a long time. I let go of all of my passions for about 10 years. So I think now I am kind of rediscovering who I am in a sense and really tuning in and tapping into my passions so that it really helps to rekindle a lot of fun things and almost like turning a new leaf.
It's something that you need to do. You need to just explore stuff, try new things, even if it's uncomfortable. In fact, the most uncomfortable thing you could think of, try that first.
Oh, goodness. Well, the painting probably was the thing for me. Yeah. That
there you go.
Coffee enemas might be next, but I think
now you see, you're braver than me because there would be the word enema doesn't come in the same sentence as stress relief for me.
Really? Well, I mean, your liver will thank you. Your liver will be less stressed. That's something else.
I drink a lot of coffee. Does that help? Do I really have to put it up the other end?
Well, that just makes your colon a little acidic, and then that will make you go to the bathroom anyway.
Yeah, but it does. I don't get the same benefits. I have to do the other.
No,
end.
yeah, the other way is actually pretty specific. Right down from the coffee that you use has to be a light roast. It needs to be organic. I always prefer fair trade because then that little children aren't picking the beans and they're not putting them into childhood slavery, right? So that's what fair trade is to me. Like fair trade chocolate, same thing. But coffee is one of the most heaviest sprayed with pesticides sprayed crops. So you want to make sure that it's definitely organic, and there's some morals and ethics to the company you're purchasing it from. But you need to, brew it, a concentrated form of it, in a stainless steel pot. You don't need to put it through a coffee filter or a coffee maker, because the plastics leach into the coffee, and then the filter actually captures the particular acid that's found in coffee that is what helps boost the glutathione in your liver to help excrete toxins. I just learned this particular method from Dr. Patrick Bickers. He's at the Northern Baja Gerson Center in Rosarito, Mexico, and he's curing cancer left and right. And he was like, we need to get you on coffee enemas. That'll help the rest of that weight come off. And yes, I will, but for every coffee enema, I have to have 3 to 4 juices per day. And at his clinic, they do like 20 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables juiced every day for their patients, and 5 coffee enemas a day. So it becomes like old habit. After the first day, you're already broke in. You're like, hey, I'm doing this tomorrow. So, it boosts your glutathione by like 600 to 700%. So you have to have that balance of like flooding your body with nutrition, giving your body the nutrients it needs, and also then escorting out the bad.
That is just, I love coffee, but I don't know if I could ingest it that way.
Well, I'm telling you, if you
I guess it's not really ingesting it.
No, it's like absorbing and releasing, absorbing quickly and releasing.
Well, I guess if I had cancer or something, honestly, you'd be surprised at what I'd be willing to do. Okay.
Oh, right. You just figure if like people are putting chemo into their bodies and willing to not only kill their immune system, but increase their risk for more toxic cancer to show up in the next, couple of years, or kill them. If they're willing to kill themselves with chemo or in the name of chemo, then a coffee enema doesn't look so bad. Right?
Yeah, you're right. I guess because honestly, I saw what chemo did to my mom, and it was pretty brutal. Honestly, it was. I mean, like when I only saw her for 2 weeks. I mean, nobody had told me she was sick for months. While I was out deployed, and I got a phone call. Mom's dying. You need to come home. And by the time I got home, she was already done. I mean, I couldn't have stopped them. They had already done the damage to her. But they had a pump in her chest, pumping fluids out of her chest.
Yeah, that's a port.
And then they were pumping fluids out of her lung, and it was all yellow. It was all nastiness. And the doctor just said, "Oh, that's the cancer." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I was looking at it, and I'm like, "What is that?" I didn't even realize what it was till years later. Obviously, after my mom was long gone. That was her body breaking down from the chemo. That wasn't the cancer that was killing her. Right, that was the chemo that killed her that did that.
Well, so many of these treatments are less than 3% effective, less than 3%, like the rate of being able to be cured at all. I mean, and they're not cured with chemo. I can't even put the word cure and chemo in the same sentence. That was so erroneous. It was like a slip. But it doesn't cure anything. It like kills everything, including your immune system, and it takes away the one system in our body that's there and designed to fight off illness. And it just wipes it out, and more people die from the actual chemo or a cold, right, than they do the cancer itself. And so many people would have a better quality of life if they just left it alone. It might even go away. Chris Wark from Chris Beat Cancer, this is one of my favorite stories. I think I've told it like 5 or 10 times since I met him a month and a half ago, but he was talking about going on the raw food diet, and he went and saw an oncologist because his family just begged him, please, 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 and of course he was told he was crazy if he didn't get on chemo, and he said, well, what do you think about the raw food diet? Oh, you can't do that. And he said, why? He said, because the raw food will kill the chemo. And he goes, well, if it can kill chemo, can't it just kill cancer? And so this is at chrisbeatcancer.com, Chris Wark. He was also on the Ricky Lake Show telling his story of how he beat stage 3 colon cancer, and that was 10 years ago. So he's definitely lived to tell about it, and just continues to be a champion in the cancer cure realm.
It's amazing what happens when you actually don't listen to the doctors.
Sometimes.
I mean, that's the only way I could put it. As horrible as that's going to sound, look, I have a relative right now that's got cancer, and I've been begging. It's one of my aunts, and my cousins, her sons and I are very close, and I've been begging them, hammering them, medical cannabis, because the state that they live in, it's available. They don't even have to move. And I was like, you guys don't let her go on chemo. And they're like, yeah, I know. And I said, no, you don't know. I said, you know, you loved my mom like she was your mom. And they were like, yeah, of course we did. I said, yeah, well, you know what killed her? The doctors. And their stupid-ass medicine is what killed her. They didn't give her a chance.
Right. At
all. I mean, she didn't have a chance. Her immune system was like, hey, I could use the special forces. And we came in and nuked our own guys.
Right,
That's what chemo does.
Right. And radiation, and it just increases your chance to getting, for the cancer to metastasize or spread to other parts of the body, and it really is problematic. I just always get baffled because I think we're using such ancient technology, such ancient concepts in the grand scheme of how fast modern technology is advancing, and for being an industrialized nation, you just would think that we'd have something more to go off of, but we are operating off of ancient ideas and theories in medicine. I mean, we're talking as far back as the mid 1700s. And you're thinking, it's 2014, folks. Can we, remember what basic anatomy, physiology, and what the body does at a cellular level? Can we just remember our, first year in med school? Let's go back. Let's just go back to the basics and remember what we were taught about how the body works. And then let's implement things that support that. Because the rest of most of modern medicine does not support the very functions and basics of and honoring our human bodies.
They treat symptoms. They don't actually treat the problem of the that's causing the symptoms. They treat, oh, you're having pain? We'll treat the pain. How about you fix what's causing the pain, and the pain will stop, and won't be a problem, and you won't need to have the person on all sorts of narcotics. Oh, but you don't make any money that way.
That's right.
Oh, now I get it. Okay. I hear the break sneaking up on us. Joni, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit more stress relief, and then I want to focus on cancer a little bit more. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. During the break, Joni brought up a good point about stress relief, and before we forget and go all over the place, because as she said, we went from stress relief to the bottom of the rabbit hole in about 3.5 seconds. What'd you say? We louged down
the rabbit hole, because you and I, we never just take off like slowly and take people along for the ride. So we just somehow aerodynamically, make our way down there at warp speed or something.
That's why you're one of my favorite friends to bring on air. I don't consider you a guest. I consider, at this point, you're pretty much more like a guest co-host when you come on. You just hang out and and it's fun. And that brings up a good point, like you said during the break. Friends and having people that you can go sit with and talk to, blow off,
just goof around with. That's the best part. Finding they say you are a reflection of the top 5 people that you hang around, or you'll become like them. And I couldn't agree more. I think having friends that you can laugh with, have deep conversations with, even things that you enjoy like music, listening to music or analyzing music or playing music, music is another great stress release. So I just think that there's so many wonderful things about having great friends that you can't forget to give a big shout out to friendship and those who you can be yourself around, your genuine self, but also have lots of fun with.
It's important to have those people in your life. Physically, whether they're in your presence, and thank God the modern technology. I laugh. I say this all the time. Most of my friends, some of my closest friends, if they all live in other states. I mean, one of
around the world. Yeah,
one of my best buddies is Johnny. Johnny English. He lives not too far from you. He's all the way the frig across the country from me, and Johnny's like a brother to me. Joe too. Joe's up in North Kakalaki there. I'm down in Florida. We're hundreds of miles apart, and yet I can call him on the phone. I can hit him up on Skype. We can video conference. I mean, it sucks we can't go out and have a beer, but, it is what it is. At least, I can hit him up, and we'll have conversations off air. And sometimes we talk about stuff. We talk about serious stuff a lot, but there are times we don't talk about anything that means anything. We talk about stupid things that, from when we were kids or whatever. I mean, you need that balance in life. If you don't have that balance, whatever you're focused on, you're going to go nuts.
Right. And balance, huge.
It's important. I put my radio show and the website and everything, because I do everything myself. I had to only do radio 4 nights a week because I can't do it I can't do it 5 because it's too taxing on me to do that.
Right.
And all of my audio editing and video and graphic design, because I do all of that stuff myself. I mean, people go, who does your graphics? Me. I've had a few things done for me by other people here and there, but 80% of my graphic design work, me. 100% of my video editing, me. 100% of the audio editing, me. 100% of my webmastering, me. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have enough time in the day. I go, and I used to do this, I mean, I still do it 7 days a week, but I never took time for myself. I've been doing this 7 years, and nonstop I've been doing it 7 years. And up until about, I would say, a year and a half ago, I was like nonstop, like, I mean, I still do it about 12 hours a day, but I was like 16, 17 hours a day. And I would never take a break, ever. I was just, on mission, and
it's easy to do, though, in this medium because there's always so much information to get out there. There's always so many interesting topics and people to talk to. You're right. No, you're
it's
right.
Not healthy.
We have to pull away from the slave machine, don't we?
It took a toll on me, Joni. It did. It was taking.
Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, for one thing, I have a lot of scar. I've had 9 operations since 2008. I have had 10 since I got out of the military to repair me. Like, I always joke around, all the king's horses and all the king's men put Popeye back together again. But surgery comes with a price. And a lot of people they think, surgery just repairs you, but it doesn't. It leaves, the problem is it leaves scar tissue in its wake. And in my situation, I had multiple surgeries on a couple of my joints, and the resulting scar tissue, they can't go back in anymore. If they go back in, you reach a threshold with a surgeon where a good surgeon will tell you there's a threshold where they'll do more harm than good.
Right.
And they've reached that point with me. So I either wither up and die, or I have to, push through. But part of pushing through means that I have to not kill myself doing this, and I have to take a little bit better care of myself. Like, that's why I started going back to the gym, and I started there was a point where I couldn't even use my right hand, and I would still be doing this. I would take masking tape and I would tape pens to my wrist. Joe knows this. I used to, when I was at Orion years ago, I used to take, and I was first doing my show, I didn't want to miss my show because I was only on a couple of nights a week, and I felt like I was letting people down, so I would there were times I couldn't even type on my keyboard because my wrists were so bad, because I had severe carpal tunnel and then nerve damage from and scar tissue adhesion to my tendons from the surgery. So the first time before I had the second surgery, I couldn't even use my right hand for about, 3-4 months over the course of time, and it got progressively worse to the point where they had to go in a second time. And I would take masking tape and tape pens to my hands, and I would type on my keyboard and move stuff around with the pens. Taped to my hands, so they were my fingers. And I wouldn't talk about it on air because I didn't want to say anything, but the doctor told me, look, you're taking, because I wasn't allowing myself to heal. I would have surgery. You can go back and listen to my archives and you'll hear me. I'll be saying, I just got off the operating table, and I'll make a comment about it and go on. I literally got off the operating table 4 hours before, and I was still pumped up on painkillers and all the anesthetic they'd given me. And I would come home, and I in most of the cases, drove myself home from the hospital and would go on air. And I was pushing myself too hard. And
yes.
The doctor told me, if you continue to do this, you're going to not be able to use your hand at all. You're causing more and more damage. I mean, I had damage from the neglect and they screwed it up the first time they went in, because it took them over 5 years to even operate on me. But anyway, waff-fest aside, I was doing a lot of the damage. Well, I wasn't doing a lot of it. I was aggravating the damage that was already done to my body instead of trying to mitigate the damage that was done in my body. So now, yes, I do more strengthening and stuff, and I went back because I hadn't been a gym rat in years. When I was younger, I was a gym rat. I lived there, and I can't do the same stuff I used to, but I take the time to get away from this, to go just even getting out of my studio and getting away and just going out for a walk, or getting some fresh air, or taking my dog, little Snorebox McGee behind me, out for a walk somewhere. You need to unplug, not only for mental, but for physical. I mean, because literally you don't realize, but you can cause nerve damage to yourself leaning on your arm for hours on end. I've seen guys. There's a guy that's going through the hand clinic at one of the VA hospitals that I know. I've seen him there before. He has nerve damage because he had renal failure. He had passed out during the night, and his body was laying on his arm in an awkward position. And because it had pinched it up by his shoulder, the nerve up by his shoulder, he's got I think it's his right side. Yeah, his right side. It's all jacked up and paralyzed, and he's in all sorts of different therapy clinics. Hand clinic. He's seeing the lower extremity clinic over on the other side of the PT clinic, where they focus just on legs and ankles and feet and stuff like that. And it's because his whole right side was all jacked up, and they were trying to figure out what caused the nerve damage, because he didn't have a stroke. He had renal failure, and he almost died from that. But they were trying to figure out what caused the nerve damage. He didn't have, there was no trauma or anything. And then he showed the doctors pictures that his wife took, because when she woke up, she wasn't sure if she called 911, and while she was waiting for them, she took pictures to show him, or to show the doctors what she had seen, and to show him if he had survived. But she wanted to show the doctors, the way she found him. And they said that because you could see the way he was laying, his arm was like pinned under his body, and she said he had been that way the whole night. So just because his arm was pinned under his own body, and because his body was going into renal failure and fighting all this other stuff, and then the nerve got impinged, he's got nerve damage to the whole right side of his body now. Like, you can see the difference in his right arm to his left arm in strength, like muscle mass. So it's incredible what you can actually do to yourself if you're not careful. I mean, in his case, obviously, he had renal failure in the middle of the night. That's, not his fault, but at least it's not his conscious decision to have renal failure. I'm sure he wasn't laying there going, "Oh, I hope I'm going to pass out." You know what I mean? But if you don't take care of your own body, if you don't take care of yourself, if you just beat the hell out of yourself, you end up, it's ridiculous. You end up putting yourself into a situation that's even worse. You end up beating the crap out of yourself to a point where you can really cause yourself some negative damage. So it's something I had to learn myself. You have to take it easy, and you have to, if you're doing this, if you're talking, if you're doing radio, whatnot, if you're a blogger, whatever, you do videos and stuff, if you're doing this 7 days a week, dude, take a break. Seriously, take 5 hours and go out and get something to eat with a friend or a significant other. Don't kill yourself, because trust me, I suffered from it. All right, I'm going to, while I was chatting with you guys, I've been trying to add Joni. The internet gremlins got to her, so I'm going to add her back via her cell phone number. So you should hear it live and ringing in a second. Here we go. Fingers crossed. Let's see if I can get through to her.
Hello.
Joni. Okay,
you know what happened?
You're back
anyway,
with us. I figured the internet gremlins got you, so I finished pontificating on my point about not.
They did.
Yeah,
but I was a ninja. I got away.
Good woman. Yay!
That's right.
You're back with us. Good. See, I don't let anything derail me. I just carry on. So. That being said, about taking care of ourselves, we got about let me see, we got about 12 and a half minutes before break, and then on the other side, in the second hour, Liam Scheff, our buddy Liam, is going to be joining us for some fun and jocularity. So before Liam comes on, I want to pick your brain for a few minutes about cancer itself and how people can fight cancer on an everyday basis, because technically our bodies are fighting cancer. I mean, it's our immune systems that are fighting it. So how, besides cannabis, I mean, I would recommend everybody honestly should be on a cannabis regimen, oil, a little bit of little dab in the morning, a little dab at night, and that's it, like a vitamin, and then we wouldn't have a lot of the problems we have. But okay, besides that, let's just take that out of the picture for a second. What other forms of therapy or living can people partake in that would help them fight cancer on a daily basis, and to the point where they don't get it, like preventative medicine-wise?
Right. Well, cancer is simply an imbalance in our bodies. And that's one of the things that we really have to remember is we all have cancer cells in our bodies anyway, and it takes a really long time, about 6 to 8 years, for it to develop and form and turn into something where it's actually harmful to us. So by then, your body has already been throwing off a lot of signs and symptoms that we usually ignore in our in our reactionary reactive mode. In the preventative mode, what we have to do is, feed our bodies a clean diet, stay away from as many pesticides, herbicides, GMOs as we possibly can. We are being infiltrated through our lotions and potions, anything from chemtrails to skincare products to soaps to whatever we put into our bodies, or even on our bodies, because it takes about 26 seconds for things to absorb in through the skin and get into our bloodstream. We have to look at all of the carcinogenic and cancer-causing things that are in our body products, things like sodium lauryl sulfate. It's the foaming agent that's found in there, that's found in soaps and toothpaste even. So we're ingesting things. I like to stay away from fluoride because that hinders your thyroid function. It hinders your neurological function. Stay away from other things like vaccines that have known carcinogens in them that, actually change. It's got animal RNA and animal DNA, and there's really no long-term safety and efficacy studies, especially on the combo shots that they have out and about. Well, there are other things like xenoestrogens found in all of the plastics and petrochemicals that are running around, the BPA water bottles. And so many people are saying, oh, it's BPA-free. Well, they couldn't just take BPA out. They had to put something more toxic in its place. So now there's BPS that's in there, which is 19 times more toxic than BPA. So you really have to become an educated consumer, not only about your food and your diet, but the things that you're exposing yourself to and the things that you're putting on your body and the things that you're drinking out of, eating out of, and really make sure that you keep that stress level down. I asked a woman, she ended up getting some kind of rare form of leukemia, and I interviewed her this past week for my show on Natural News Radio called Homegrown Health. It airs Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. I asked her, how important do you think the spiritual component of healing is when it concerns cancer? Because we can talk about the diet, we can talk about all of these other things like using alternatives like the essential oils and utilizing other forms of medicinal things for healing that come from food, but how we've got a whole spiritual side of ourselves. There's a whole energetic aspect that often gets ignored in modern medicine and doesn't get acknowledged. And she said, I think that's the most important thing. Because our mindset and where we are spiritually, where we are energetically, and how we view the world around us, how we deal with stress, how we react to it, that she said that can trigger the illness. So yeah, there's a lot of things.
When I was a kid, I remember I had a conversation with a doctor that I was about 16, and this is something that, well over 20 years later, and I still remember this. He said to me, a huge part of getting over any illness is in your head. Mm-hmm. He said to me, if you're not willing to get past it mentally, you're not going to get past it. If you in your head decide that you're going to be sick, even though you're sick already, like physically you have a problem, but if you just give in and say, okay, I'm going to let it, whatever, then you've already lost the battle. You have to be willing to stand and fight. And if you're willing to stand and fight, just like if you were, facing down an entire army, you have to stand there with your armor on and you have to fight. If you don't, then you might as well wither up and die. And he was very frank with me, like, in this conversation. And it's something that stuck with me forever. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, he's got a point. Like if you're sick, if you have the flu and you go, I just want to die. I want to be left alone. How many people do you know that, they get sick and they become mopey, whiny babies, and they want to whine and moan, and it takes forever for them to get over it. Because it actually almost seems like it takes them an extra day or two longer. Whereas the people that just deal with it and they mitigate as much as they can, and then they try to have a positive attitude, they seem to heal much faster. I mean, is that a coincidence, Joni? I don't think so.
I don't think that it is. I mean, there is something to be said, mind over matter. But when our bodies are really attacked, or you feel so vulnerable and weak, it can be and is very difficult sometimes to get out of that rut or that feeling. That feeling is so real. So one of the things that I think the best things we can do is acknowledge it. Acknowledge that feeling. Don't try to pretend that you don't feel that way. That just creates more stress in your body. Just acknowledge the feelings that you're having and work through them. And in addition to doing other things that will heal the body and bring it back into a happy balance, a state of homeostasis. Your nutrition can bring your body. You can be alkaline, right, or you can be too alkaline, or you can be too acidic. And cancer cannot thrive in a balanced body. If your body's too acidic, then that's just like breeding grounds for it. So you have to find, look at an alkaline diet and look at the things that are acidic and alkaline, and put more of the alkaline stuff into your body to bring it back into balance. Another thing that we don't think about is dental issues. Your body has acupuncture meridians all throughout, and that's the flow of energy. Is a lot of times, again, the energetical aspect of the healing components of our bodies. Amalgam fillings is not just a silver filling in your mouth. Gold fillings are not just gold fillings. We think that it's like a pure metal, but it's really a conglomeration of a ton of cheap toxic metals with toxic things like mercury and other neurotoxins in them, and those vapors are being constantly, consistently released into your body. Root canals, for instance, is a really poor procedure because it traps bacteria in your body, and you have a constant flow of sepsis going on and streaming into your body. So I just did an audiobook, believe it or not. I do voiceover work on the side, and I just voiced an audiobook for a friend of mine, and we didn't even know that I was going to be doing her book, and she was scheduled to be a guest on my show, and she had no idea that I was going to be doing her audiobook. Anyway, her book is called Healing Breast Cancer Naturally, and she gives 7 essential steps. Her name's Dr. Veronique Desognier. People call her Dr. V. She's also known as the breast cancer conqueror. She healed herself naturally from breast cancer, and she actually used many, many methods, and she talks about this very thing in her book, which is now an Amazon #1 bestseller, which I'm really excited about as well. But this whole thing with mercury vapors, they're released in small amounts just constantly, and when you drink hot liquids, that releases them more into your body. And it is very toxic over time, and in fact, my brother called me and said, I've got a lump underneath my jaw. It's in the submandibular area, right underneath his jaw. And he was scared to death that it was cancer. And I said, do you have any fillings on that side of your mouth? He goes, yeah, I've got a silver and a gold filling right there. And he ended up, less than a week later, in the hospital just a couple nights ago in the ER, totally septic, almost died. His blood almost went totally septic, and he had such an infection there, in that right underneath there. They had to remove 2 back teeth, and they had to take that filling out, and through a surgery. So it was no fun at all, and I'm so thankful that he's okay because he's my only brother. So it was just, oh my gosh, a big shock to us. But that was the first thing that I thought of because I had just read that in her book about the amalgam fillings, which I already knew, but I didn't know about gold fillings because I thought they were a pure metal. In fact, it makes it worse because it says amalgams may make you more sensitive to EMFs as well. And this is what we get from our computers and our phones. EMFs pose a serious threat to our environment and our health. The metals in your mouth act as an antenna that attract the EMFs to your body and especially to your brain. If you have gold fillings and amalgams in your mouth, a galvanic electrocurrent is created, causing serious erosion to the amalgam and thus releasing much more vapor into your body. So we have a plethora of attacks on our body at any given moment, so we really need to make sure we're wise with the things that we do.
We really do, and I again, I know people get really jammed up with the alkalinity, acidity thing. One day, maybe in fact, next time I have you on, we should probably just focus on, like, maybe we should just do cancer for like an hour straight and just get into it and like super in depth. because that's actually a really good thing to focus on, I think, because a lot of people get confused about that, Joni. They don't understand the acidity, alkalinity thing. That's the number one question I see in forums, on comments, whenever that gets brought up, is what the hell does that mean?
Right. Well, a simple way that you can think about it is a fish tank, right? Whether or not that's balanced, or even your pool. I did the pool thing growing up with my parents, and I had to go out and not only did I clean the pool, but I would test the pH. And so you dip in the water, and you put certain drops in that had two little vials on each side, and it would test it to see if it got too acidic, you added one chemical. If it wasn't, alkaline enough, you added another. I mean, so you constantly had to keep this balance, otherwise it's very harmful to your body. Well, the same concept, again, is balance. If you're too alkaline, that can be damaging to your body. Eating too many clean foods to the point where, I don't think you can ever eat too many clean foods, but you can get your body out of whack where it is too alkaline, and that creates sickness. Ever known somebody who was like a health nut and they were always sick? That's not an imbalance. Somebody also who eats junk processed foods, they have amalgam fillings in their mouth, they get all their vaccines. I mean, again, they're drinking from plastics and cooking in Teflon and aluminum cookware, and just like everybody else going through life because they don't know any better. They're not educated consumers. And then they always end up, getting this sick diagnosis. And it's not only cancer they're getting diagnosed with, but we are going to see an influx. I mean, the government powers are predicting a 57% increase in cancer rates in the very near future. We also know Fukushima is, the whole Pacific Ocean is getting tons of radiation dumped into it from Fukushima. They're already seeing, fish, the salmon up in Alaska. There was no salmon. There really was no season to speak of last year. Because Fukushima happened several years ago. And there's white coral reef disease off the coast of Hawaii. And sea turtles are ending up with all kinds of crazy tumors and blindness and burns on their bodies. And it's like it's all coming out and floating over to the coast of California. So I think, we really have to find some ways to protect ourselves from it. And there are ways to do that, but you just have to know what to do and really make sure that your nutrient and mineral levels are where they need to be. And that's different for each person, really. Because what works for one person as a cancer cure may not work for another. Everybody has their own walk, their own individual needs. Only you really, need to get back into the idea of having this innate ability to tune back into your body, to yourself, to your spirit, to your mind, to your soul, and figure out for yourself what it is that your body is needing. And so many times that's just such a key component, is just tuning back into yourself, tuning out of everything else, and tuning back in and making yourself strong.
Well said, Joni. Very well said. And with that, the break is sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. We come back, our good buddy Liam Scheff will be joining us, and we will be beating up Joni's internet gremlins during the break to see if we can bring her back on Skype. If not, doesn't matter. We have the phone line. Either way, she'll be back with us. Don't go anywhere. 3 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. Today is May 16th, 2014. Yes, Monster is making a extreme amount of noise tonight. I don't know what I fed her that is causing her to snore so loud, but God, she is like a little chainsaw in the background. Anyway, hour number 2. Joni's back with us on Skype. Yay! Yay! We exorcise the demons. Okay, we we got rid of the gremlins out of her line, and now we're joined by my good friend, comedian, troublemaker, radio show host, author, researcher. I could go on. Mr. Liam Scheff. Yay!
It's so good to be back on your show.
It's been too long, Liam.
It's been too long, let me tell you. I had to take break. I didn't care very much about conspiracy things after a while. It's all big fake. It's all a big lie. So I realized what I want to really be is a ballerina.
Worst Borat impression ever.
No, this is the best one you ever heard.
He sounds like Drew from Despicable Me.
Oh, man. He reminds me of that Russian comedian Yakov Smirnoff.
Hey, you know it's funny? In American grocery stores, you can buy anything, but in Russian grocery stores, you can't.
Smirnoff. What is that, a vodka?
You got to wonder if, like, where he got the name from. And,
Right.
Jerk-off Smirnoff?
Yeah, you remember him, don't you, Lee?
I do.
Yakov Smirnoff.
I know. That's a real name.
I'm aging myself now, by the way.
That's fine.
Russian comedian from the 80s.
Yeah. Hey, Ronald Reagan is great, but Gorbachev is also great. Ha, 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 ha. He wasn't funny. He really... They were so banal, like his things, you know. Hey, in Russia, if I say this, the KGB comes to visit me. But in America, nobody visits me. That was always the joke. In
Everything
Russia,
was comparison. Yeah.
I had one pair of underwear for all of February.
And it was funny because we all hated the Russians, and like
Right.
the Russian economy was collapsing, and we're all like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And now, like 20 some odd years later, they're all like, ha, 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 nice economy.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that we're where we live. Because like the poorly made, you know, like the frog in water. Frogs jump out of boiling water, but like that analogy that works for us, we've gotten used to the Walmartization of the country. I mean, this didn't used to be this way. You know, every place is the same kind of urban malaise and disaster. I sent a friend of mine in Europe, in the UK, some video that I'd been working on and editing, and I was shooting local music acts. And she said, well, I really like the music, but everybody in it seems to be dressed with no particular style at all, and everybody looks sort of gamey and unhappy. And I said, well, those might have been the homeless people. So I took another look, and it was just, you know, everybody's in Walmart duds. Everybody's in the $3 T-shirt that has some horrific emblem on it that comes from China, and they're like, hey, I got it for $3. Woo!
No style, and we think we're so stylish because we have people like the Kardashians running around, but we don't look like that. Did you see
that thing that I posted? This is what Popeye. Have you seen the Chloe versus Kim? Now Kim must be very, very not tall because her sister looks like a giant next to her, and Kim looks to me like Inanna, like the goddess of hellfire and sex.
And I don't know why I know this, but because two of them are from one guy, and Chloe is from a different.
She got a different baby daddy.
Yeah, her daddy is a different daddy. That's why she's a giant, and the other two are tiny ones. So yeah.
This is what. So Chloe is.
Why I know that I don't know.
Germanic. Let me send this to you so you can put it up on the thing. And they each have a Jennifer Lopez rear end, and they're each, you know, ready to give birth to some goddess. If you just slice their rear end, Athena will pop out, you know, something like that. But this is what passes for news now. I mean, this is everything that is news. I don't know what to say to people anymore except Kim Kardashian.
Dude, it's so annoying that these are the heroes. When I was a kid, you looked up to the firefighter, or you wanted to be an astronaut, you know, you wanted to maybe be a scientist or something, you know. I mean, even if you were, I want to be a cop or I want to be in the military, at least there was something other than the basketball players or the baseball players or football or worse, the pop stars. Like and what's even worse than them are the Kardashians. I think the Kardashians are actually the lowest thing on the pop culture scale. I think they're lower than whale shit, if you want my honest opinion, because they are famous for nothing. The only reason why they're famous is because the mother is kind of a slut, and she ended up marrying Bruce Jenner, And, she was a one-hit wonder back in the day when she was younger herself. And then one of the daughters...
I'll see what Bruce was left looking like.
Yeah, Bruce kind of looks like... He looks
a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, he's a one-hit wonder in and of itself. But the one daughter is the only reason why they're all famous now and even have TV shows, because she had a sex tape and it got leaked. I mean, is that what you're proud? And you come to find out the mother helped orchestrate the leak of the sex tape so that they could get out there in the media spotlight and get attention. I mean, that's what you're putting your kids in front of on TV. If you let them watch that crap and you let them emulate that, you're letting them emulate a family who the matriarch of the family is willing to sell, pretty much pimp out her own children for fame and money.
Well, in the Greek tragedy, Medea comes back, and I think Jason of Jason and the Argonauts was her husband, and so he was traipsing around the Peloponnesus, having a good time and having adventures with different slutty girls to his advantage. Don't be offended, slutty girls. We're all sluts. Joni and I have been interviewed Chris Ryan, author of Sex at Dawn, and that's been on my show, STP, Sex, Drugs, and Permaculture. So. Apparently, slut is what we all are. We're all slutty. Whore is something that's different. Whore is an exchange of goods for sex, but slut just means apparently that you enjoy it, and why shouldn't you? Right. So I can't stop staring. I think Kim Kardashian she looks like ripe, and the whatever the stuff that's on top of the lizard face is a good looking face. You know what I mean? It's like the plastic thing they put on top. But I'm amazed that the culture sort of embraces her because she doesn't have a skinny white girl body. She's not tall and she's very wide, and her legs are thick and her waist is rather thick and her hips are enormously wide. And then Chloe's rear end has a rear end of its own. Like if you look at where her rear end starts, it continues, and there's another rear end afterwards. So you could mistakenly, perhaps, argue, maybe.
Do you see the size of her cleavage? This is not questionable as to why our country embraces her.
But
she
you
does
could
that
argue
as a distraction point.
But maybe we're just embracing different body shapes. All right. Anyway, enough.
That's
about
her
that.
That's their only selling point, is because they're useless. They're a distraction. It serves to help create a stereotype that you want to instill in the young girls of this country. That's why they give them TV shows.
Right.
Same thing with those Real Housewives bimbos.
Right.
You know what I always say? If there was an economic collapse, they're the first ones to die. Now that's a reality show I want to watch. The Real Housewives of Orange County post-economic collapse.
So are we really? I mean, the economic collapse seems to be ongoing, and it seems to be going on and on and on, and it will go on and on and on, and on and on and on and on. And when I just am left to wonder when the rubber stops meeting the road, because Mike Rupert, as you know, Popeye, and I don't know if Joni knows, Mike Rupert decided to leave, right? You know this?
No, I don't. Go ahead.
Popeye, do you know this?
What? No. Is it a joke, or
no? Mike Rupert,
Mike
Rupert, who wrote "Crossing the Rubicon," who was essentially a CIA whistleblower.
Oh, I know who it is. Yeah, he killed himself a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he decided to leave.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you were looking for I wasn't sure if there was a punchline to it.
No, there's no punchline. I'm just saying that he was the guy, and I got on my friend with Michael Kane, K-A-N-E, who used to write for From the Wilderness, and we talked about it. It's a private conversation. Mike's really retired from this, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But we talked about it because we're friends, and he worked closely with Mike Rupert, and he knew Mike Rupert was tense and always never a guy who sort of calmed down easily, and he was, and so I know that when I was pursuing a lot of these stories of the darkness, I sometimes became impatient for the darkness just to arrive so I could get on living. Do you know what I mean? Like if you talk about economic collapse all the time, and you talk about what's going on in the world, and if you talk about peak oil all the time, which I was doing, And it's not that I don't believe in it, but if you talk about it all the time, you become impatient, or at least I became impatient for like, okay, I understand now what's likely. I understand that this stuff runs out. I understand. No, I don't believe in the lizard. People will give us free energy. No, I don't believe a lot of stuff that, you're supposed to believe to let yourself off the hook. I just, I believe that eventually, oil runs low and society changes. But we keep talking about economic collapse, and I'm just wondering, if it's here already, does it come in our lifetime that we don't have cars anymore? Just asking.
Well, it could. I mean, look how fast it evolved from not having cell phones to cell phones. I remember a time before pagers.
Yeah, I do too.
I remember when we used to play with rocks and sticks in the backyard.
Yeah, but we had cars then. So my question is there a time when we don't have cars anymore?
I mean, it all depends on if you believe that oil is abiotic or not abiotic.
No, never mind the belief. The amount of oil that comes out of the light sweet crude, right? The light sweet crude that is what Saudi Arabia is made of. So if they decide that they can dig under the ocean and blow up everything everywhere, God, I should have left. I'm still on the Daily Mail page, and there's Elizabeth Hurley, my ex-girlfriend, my make-believe ex-girlfriend.
You wish she was your ex-girlfriend.
My make-believe internet ex-girlfriend.
I bet that stings, seeing her now.
Yeah, no, she looks good. She looks 48. Thank God. She just let herself be 48. No facelifts that I can see. Her face is her face. Okay, I got to turn that off. They're the Kardashians again. Get off of my Elizabeth Hurley page. I'm trying to think.
Oh man, you kill me. Your brain is like a roller coaster ride, Liam.
No, okay. So my question is, do we really ever? Does it? I was telling Joni that you were one of my. Joni, did I not say this?
You did.
Yeah, I said probably my favorite male radio host because you do it often. You do your show 5 days a week, sometimes long segments. And you never seem to get so bent out of shape. You don't seem to get too hot about things. You don't get too cold about things. You keep your sense of humor. And I always like being on your show very much because it's enjoyable. And you just sort of let us unwind. And we have a good time. And I think the audience likes it for that. I think it's on and popular for that reason. But I always want to get somewhere. So when I did my show, which I think people liked, but when I did my show and I was doing it more often, I was trying to be issue-oriented about the politics, I would get very depressed.
Very hard not to.
Yeah, if you really are a seeker of truth, you're going to come up with some things that are outstandingly painful, like, the AIDS industry kills everybody that it claims to help, and the cancer industry kills everybody that it claims to help, and the vaccine industry tries to kill everybody that it claims to be protecting, and the Kardashians have really big butts, and if you're not into that, you're missing out.
And Elizabeth Hurley just won't date you.
And Elizabeth Hurley didn't date me in the 90s, much to my chagrin. Even though I can do a reasonable Hugh Grant imitation, she just wouldn't take my calls.
Well,
I don't think that she knows.
That's because she wants Austin Powers, baby. Yeah.
Right.
Him and his buck
She was
teeth.
great. They were all very funny. But my question is, do we really... Have you stopped talking about collapse? Do we still talk about collapse? Aren't they just going to keep printing whatever? And as long as they can dig oil out of some crevice of Wyoming, won't they just kill everybody there and take the oil from beneath the ground?
If you want my honest opinion on
Yes.
economic collapse, okay. And I've never said this on air before, but I think if everybody just
I'm so glad. Wait, don't say it yet. I'm so glad I pushed you to say something that you haven't said on air. I'm so excited.
It's an honest thought. If we didn't need money, the economic collapse wouldn't mean anything. It wouldn't be, okay. Oh, well, the banks don't have money. Oh, good for them. Good. They're scumbags. It's about time they don't have any money. Good. Rot, you pieces of crap. Oh, your Bentley doesn't work anymore? You have to walk to work? Oh, you don't have a job. Oh, you're homeless. Oh, how does that taste? Suck it. Nobody wants to do business with you? Oh, too bad, so sad. If everybody just did barter and just took care, maybe we could take a cue from, I don't know, the insects and all the other animals on the planet, because humans seem to be the only life form on planet Earth that need money to survive. So that's my honest opinion. We don't need money to survive. If we took a cue from everything else on the planet, if we didn't think we were so frigging high and mighty all the time, and maybe understood that we were more one with everything and not lording over everything, then that wouldn't mean crap. And then their control system would fail, their little police state wouldn't matter, they wouldn't matter, they'd become irrelevant, and then we could all be, happy and explore outer space and the oceans, and I can get back to doing other cool things. Like, I like to blow glass. Not many people know that. I'm a glass blower. I haven't been able to blow glass in like a year and a half, 2 years, because I don't have any time. I had to literally sacrifice the time I would spend doing that to do my radio show.
Why don't you blow glass sometime?
Go blow glass.
I just don't
Go blow glass, buddy.
I don't have time. I just honestly don't have time for it. It takes a couple hours to have a good session. So when I get a house, I'm going to get a house hopefully in the next year or so. When I buy a house, I'm going to set up my little shop in the back. But yes, I know how to blow glass.
You better make the time to blow glass.
I even have a little kiln. I actually have it. I can look at it. It's about 20 feet from me in my closet.
But why don't you... Okay, so recently I've decided to take out time to do the things that actually I enjoyed, and I remembered that I was a person. Oh, can I say the thing about the 10-year thing?
Oh, go ahead.
This is the 10-year anniversary of the thing that I think really propelled me into digging, and figuring out what was going on in the world. I investigated this AIDS problem, and then I got tuned into a story about orphans being used in clinical trials in New York, which turned out to be gruesome and quite true. And that took 4 or 5 years of my life, maybe 3 as a constant, and then it just didn't let go. It was the Al Pacino thing from Godfather 3. I tried to get out, and they kept pulling me back in. So 10 years ago, really, it was in 2003 that I discovered the story. It was in 2004 that the story really broke, and that orphans were being used in clinical trials in New York City. Now, the Wikipedia will state that I wasn't a journalist. Apparently, I was an AIDS denialist. So I didn't.
Never mind the schooling.
Yeah, I didn't go in as a journalist. Yeah, sure, I took interviews with everybody and I reported everything that was happening. But I was an AIDS denialist. And also that yes, they were doing clinical trials, but big whoop. That's great. You should cut children into pieces and stuff them with drugs. That's what we should be doing, and anybody who says otherwise is just crazy.
Hey, I got to sidetrack you for a second. Did you see Dallas Buyers Club?
Right. I had long talks about that with Beth Ellie, who wrote a great piece for OMSJ about it, and she explained, because I won't watch any AIDS movies because I'm just so tired of being lied to. It's just nauseating. It's nauseating. But she told me, she said, no, they actually told the truth. Dude,
my jaw hit the floor. I thought of you and Steve Stars, and I was like, I have to tell these two. And I told him too. I was like, you got to go watch the movie. I thought it was going to be the same thing. I thought it was going to be, propaganda garbage. And Matthew McConaughey's character is like coming into these town hall meetings where these drug reps are, telling all these all the people that were there that had, AIDS or HIV, take this medication. You have it. You need to take this. And he comes in, he's barging in. He's like, they're killing you. It's the drug that's killing you. And I was like, oh my God.
Right.
Oh my God! Is this on? This was in movie theaters. I about fell over when I saw the movie. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to throw that out there. Look, I know you hate propaganda. Watch the film; you will be pleasantly surprised. I mean, they don't go into it as much as you or Steve have with your the research you guys have done and the exposure.
No, they don't tell the truth, but they tell a truth.
Yeah, which I was surprised with that. So.
Wow. So that's 10 years, and there's a little article on omsj.org, Office of Medical and Scientific Justice.org, that will just sum up and show you some links and explain to you, if anybody ever doubts that the media lies. I mean, I have it from the New York Times writer herself. They reported one thing. They got tons of information from me. She knows that. She can't deny it. They reported something that was entirely manufactured. They never retracted it, but they changed it the next time they reported it, and then it was further changed by another report. But still, And to watch the New York Times reporter, Jani Scott, in email with me say things like, I don't remember if we talked to the doctor who ran the trials, and I don't think we looked at any medical records. We shouldn't. It would have been unethical for us to look at any medical records while reporting that nobody was hurt in the medical trials. So they're allowed to report that nobody gets hurt, but they don't have to look at the medical records to see if anybody got hurt. Meanwhile, apparently, I'm made allegations that children were hurt in clinical trials. On the other hand, the guys who finally gave the numbers say that 200 and some children died in New York clinical, who were orphans who were enrolled in these trials. But they can't blame the drugs because AIDS drugs, even though they say they're black box labeled, which means they kill adults, are certainly safe for children.
Oh.
Yay!
Wow. Well, thank you for the work that you did with that.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah. And don't ask me to do it again. I'm not. It's just up there. It's 10 years. And I have to say, sometimes people write me, like from New York, or, like some kid ages out of foster care and they write me, or somebody who worked at the place, something. And I go, yeah, that was really awful. I'm so sorry. And if you want to do an interview or something, I'll bring you on a radio show. But I bled a lot for that, and I just can't do it again.
No, I know what you mean. When you do stuff like that, it drains you. And we were just talking about that.
What were you talking about?
We were talking about stuff like that, like how it drains your, like you get drained doing this. We were talking about stress relief and stuff because people need to just, kind of hear it said. They already know it, but I think if they hear somebody else talking about it, a lot of times it just spurs people to look into it. Because this stuff can really drain you. I mean, you could put a physical toll on your body, which I talked about, but you could also do the mental stress. Rough.
Yeah.
Rough.
No,
right, Joni?
You gotta look at. You got to drink, you got to do drugs, and masturbate. You got to. It's like Matthew McConaughey said in not Dallas Buyers Club.
Jesus.
No. It's not Dallas Buyers Club. What was the other movie that he was just in that was revolutionary? What was the Scorsese movie that he was in?
It was the Wolf of Wall Street?
Wolf of Wall Street.
They should call it the F-bomb of Wall Street, from what I understand.
That's my new favorite movie.
Of course, it's a Scorsese flick, so let's just let's just understand that any Scorsese flick, they're going to use the F word as a noun, a verb, and an adjective.
Right.
I think that this movie, and if you haven't seen it, I really want you to go, and to both of you, my friends here, I want you both to go watch Wolf of Wall Street, not with kids or anybody under, 15, 18, something like that. Probably 16, 17. It's full of nudity. So whatever the age, whatever it
18,
is.
20.
No, not 20. Why do we pretend that people who are 15 and 16 can't handle cursing or nudity in movies? How old were you when you started watching rated R movies, Popeye?
5.
But
that's because I was exposed to horror movies like Friday the 13th and things like that.
Okay.
I think that was the first horror movie I ever saw, was the first Friday the 13th. I was 5 years old.
The first horror movie I saw was my parents' wedding video. No, but hold on a second. How old should you be? Maybe 14 or 15?
Well, hold on. Why don't we ask the mom? She's actually the mom.
The mom. I am a strict rule follower when it concerns. I am when it, like PG-13. I'm all about not past that level, not past that age.
All R means is it's restricted unless you're with a parent. That's all it means. There's no age limit.
Yeah, well, wasn't it 17? You couldn't get into the movies when you were younger.
Unless you're with a parent.
You had to go with a parent. But how many parents would actually take their kids to see R-rated movies when we were kids? Not many.
But the R-rated movies are R for emotional content. X movies are X because they show boobies and bouncy fun things. But R-rated movies are not R. Like, you could watch The Godfather today, and you couldn't believe that it's rated R because there's worse stuff on the CW, like The Vampire, like whatever is on television.
Oh, right.
NCIS,
yes.
CSI. All of these are more vile, disgusting, violent. Any reality show about...
Okay, fair enough. Compared to what's on TV, it's not that shocking because, yes, things on TV are more violent and gratuitous than they were when we were kids, too. I'm going to cut us off because the break is sneaking up. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. 3 minutes. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment, tonight's live edition. DTRH, you can see it's the Friday mellowed laid-back edition. And you can't get more mellow and laid-back than hanging out with Joni Abbott and Liam Scheff. And the fun and jocularity will continue.
So much fun. What a fun word.
The ironing shall commence.
Jocularity.
Jocularities.
You ever listen to words like you listen to a word as you're saying it, and you say it a couple times and go, "Where the hell did they come up with this?"
You know the word that's always done that for me? Purple. Just keep saying it. It makes me laugh. Purple.
When it comes to colors, I always wonder what the hell made them label the color. Like, why is orange called orange? Why is red called red?
I love to eat oranges, and then it's its own color, and then you think that everything should be straightforward, you know?
But nothing is as straightforward as that.
I know. Like, I should have a purple and a black and a blue. Hey, I want to have a blue.
But why is an asteroid and a hemorrhoid a hemorrhoid? Should it be the other way around? You know? Why do we drive on a parkway and park in a driveway?
Why do we drive on a parkway and park on a driveway? Who are these people who invented the parkway? Didn't they know that we'd be driving on it? So I think that my... Hello, 1993. I think the Wolf of Wall Street is the if you're going to see any movie in the past 5 years, go back through time and watch this one. I think that this movie tells the truth about what we are. We're a little party monkey species, and all of our fake accolades and all of our nonsensical wishing that we were some sort of erudite, wonderful species, and all of our hoping for the reincarnation of Ishtar or Inanna or Nibiru or whoever you worship is just nuts. We're a little polytheistic, object worshipping, sex worshipping, drug high seeking, fun to be around species. I went to the little health food store nearby the other day. And I went in, and there was a lovely mixed ethnicity woman, some parts here, some parts there, and she was sampling wine. And I don't really like to drink because I am the easiest drunk in the world, and I proved it. So she was offering drinks, and I said, she said, "Do you want some of this?" And I said, "Are you trying to get people drunk?" And she didn't know whether I was okay to joke with, and she said, "No, I'm just sampling wine." And I said, why aren't you trying to get me drunk? You probably could. So she gave me a thimbleful of wine, literally a thimbleful, like a half an ounce. And I drank it, and within about 150 paces, the length of time it took me to get to where I left my bicycle, I was probably drunk. And I could feel all the changes.
Lightweight.
I had a thimbleful of wine. I'm telling you, I'm the easiest. I don't drink for this reason. I'm like a Japanese person. I just lack the ability to digest European alcohol. So I go into the grocery store, and I'm sort of going around, and everything just seems great, Popeye. Joni, everything seems just the best that it's ever been.
I bet it does. All sparkly eyes and rainbows.
And there was a nice little person who was working in the grocery store, and I looked behind me, and I must have had a quizzical look in my face, and she was very cute, fruit stalker or, cracker box stalker or something like that. And she said, "I'm not following you, I swear." And I said, "Well, I was hoping." And I didn't even think about making the joke, you see. I immediately just joked, and it was a sexy joke, and it was a flirtatious joke, and she laughed, and I laughed, and then we went in the back and screwed. No, we didn't, but I thought about it.
Of course you thought about it. You're male, and you had a little tipsiness going on.
I thought about it, but then I bought some fruit, and I was just in a great mood. And it reinforced an ongoing theory I've had that we're in essence, and look, don't get me wrong, that's as much as I've had to drink in about 2 years. I don't drink beer. I don't buy beer. I don't like beer. And I just had a tiny sip of wine. I just don't drink. Cannabis or cannabis oil or CBD oil. I would use CBD oil every day if you gave it to me. It's non-intoxicating. But at our essence, are we not ruined by the mechanical society that we live in? Are we not just really a good time little tribal hunter-gatherer species that runs out, picks some plantains, digs up some tubers, kills a bird or two, goes fishing, comes back, eats it, dances around a fire, takes some leaf, chews it in our mouth until we see the stars making multicolored rainbows, goes to sleep on, in a hammock and does it all again the next day? Isn't that what we are?
Maybe it's what we're supposed to be, but that's not
That's what I mean.
what we've
Deep
become.
inside. No?
I don't know. Maybe. What do you think, Pops?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Right now, we're not supposed to be that, but right now, that's the way we are to a certain extent, and I think that's one of the reasons why, like I told you guys off air, and I said this on air 100 times before, why when people say, well, do you believe in aliens? Yeah, well then how come they haven't come to the planet yet? Because they have technology that allows them to, they can like hang out far enough away and they could watch us from a distance.
And laugh.
And they not only do they pick up our radio transmissions and listen to us, but they see every alien movie we put out. How do we deal with a foreign alien coming to the planet? We attack it and kill it, nuke it. We think they're monsters. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But that's kind of presumptuous. So okay, that could be a little off-putting. But perhaps it's the closer look. Once they look a little closer and they go, ooh, never mind. They can't even decide whose god is better and what piece of sand is theirs. Who gets to sit in one piece of earth or another. I mean,
piece of sand.
Seriously, we can't get along in the sandbox. Earth is like a sandbox in the much larger playground. We can't even get out of the freaking sandbox. We're like monkeys at the zoo who fling poop at each other. Do you go sit with the monkeys or the gorillas? You're going to go have tea with the gorillas in the gorilla cage? No, the gorilla will probably either try to mount you if you're a female or kill you if you're a male. So I doubt you're going to go have tea with it.
But we're not gorillas. We're bonobos.
Gosh.
We're somewhere between chimps and bonobos.
Is that the thing with the big red ass and the big blue nose?
No, that's a baboon.
That's a baboon. There's some of those running around too, the Kardashians. But no, we I even think we leave the aliens going.
What if Kim Kardashian lifted her dress and it was
Scotty.
red?
There's no what?
What if Kim Kardashian lifted her dress and she had a huge red swollen anus? All right, go ahead, Joni.
Bad imagery.
I'm just saying, what if she was a missing link between baboons and... All right, never mind.
I'm thinking... Okay, so my joke doesn't make sense anymore, but I was going to say that what if we leave the aliens going, beam me up, Scotty, there's no intelligent life down here. That's what I was going to say earlier.
Does. Well, it's actually, it still makes sense. And no, they
because
do.
we are talking about Kardashians, but looking like a...
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Can you imagine if they tune in and that's what they pick up as MTV, or they pick up the Kardashians?
Yeah, but
that's
MTV
great.
in the 80s or MTV now?
No, well, I'm sure the MTV in the 80s is floating around out in space still. The signals are all floating out.
I know. How great would that be?
I was going to say, that's because it was the best ever.
I know. Like Sting and the Police and I
Dire Straits.
Early.
And don't you worry, when Warner Brothers, Warner Music and Universal Music and all them figure out a way to put copyrights in outer space and sue people on other planets, they will. You didn't pay me royalties for listening to that. Don't worry.
Yeah, then they just nuke the whole planet, and they're like, here's your royalties.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, seriously, that's why... If I was an alien, right, and I rolled up in my alien space, if you can travel around in space in a spaceship, obviously they're way more technologically advanced than we are, and they're probably way more intellectually advanced. So they roll up, they look at us, and they're like, nope, no. They kill each other. We're not going anywhere near this planet. They can't even get along with each other. No.
Of course, you're right, and if you could travel and you were wise enough to figure out how to get, which I don't think is possible across that length of distance of universe, I just don't see that as physically possible. It's a giant electric universe, and I think that sailing it on a ship is as likely as, I don't know.
Liam the party pooper chef, ladies. You could what about wormholes?
Yeah, but those aren't real. Those are just science fiction. They're not science. They're not testable.
Are you saying quantum physics isn't real?
No, it's not.
Do I have to break out my Jedi robe now? Because
Do I have to break out official stories because official stories exist to protect officials? Let me tell you, outer space is electrical.
He just went OS on your ass.
I love when he does like.
Don't make me go OS.
Random plugs for his book.
There was a very specific plug.
Go on.
The word that you used about it was very specific. Now, outer space is electrical. It's a plasma, and because it's a giant charged sea of electrified particles, I think that it's hard to get across long distances. I mean, you'll just get zapped if you're metal. So I don't know, but I consider the whole thing alive anyway. So I don't like. Have you never meditated and just known things that you didn't have any reason? If this were truly a reductionist universe where you had to hold an object to know something about it, then there's so much that we couldn't know. But because it's an electrical universe, we know things that we shouldn't. We know things at great distance. We intuit things. The information is carried on the electrical nature of the world, the electrical pulsing nature of the world. It's an argument made, at least in plasma physics, and I think it's pretty good and testable. And then that takes you away from having to actually travel anywhere. You can just sit in your house, masturbating, looking at pornography, watching The Wolf of Wall Street, doing drugs.
Jesus, Liam. I'm a firm believer in quantum physics. Okay, but you know what? See, what's nice is I don't have to agree with you on everything.
That's fine.
To be your friend.
Matter.
And one day, when you're proven wrong, you crazy bastard, and we can travel through time, and we can travel.
We do travel through time. We travel through time in our mind.
Forward, but only forward.
No, what is a memory? I mean, we
that's true.
We travel in time all the time, always, constantly. Whenever we sit and we go somewhere else, we're peeling away all of the layers of what we consider the now. I mean, Shiva's always dancing on the horizon, burning up the moment and leaving an ashy residue in which a new moment is born. That's the Hindu mythology of the way the universe works. There's the death of every moment. It's the rebirth of a new moment. Vishnu holds it all together in the cosmic sea. It's a more poetical version than you have in the Western, the Yahweh sort of all guy-driven thing. It's a more poetical, feminine version. But I don't know what people mean when they say quantum physics, except like Star Trek. They think Star Trek's true. So you'd have to explain it, but it doesn't really matter because philosophically, I probably agree that we're in all places. We connect to so many places without even knowing that we do. I sent you my book to read. Did you ever read it? Say it on the air. Just say no. Go ahead.
Oh no, I skimmed through it. But I have not read. I have not read it cover to cover. I haven't read anything yet. I have books that people gave me on the 50th for JFK's when I was in Dallas. I still haven't read yet.
I know, but read chapter 9. Just chapter 9. Just chapter 9.
But
I really want to talk with you about it.
I do.
Just chapter 9.
You do not believe in quantum physics at all.
I don't know what you mean by quantum. Quantum just means a distance or a quantity. So what do you mean?
Have you ever researched quantum physics at all?
Do you have to define it for me? If we're going to talk about it, you have to define what you mean by it. Because if I say yes, I'm opening myself up to suddenly I'm agreeing with things.
No. Have you ever researched or looked into the theory, like quantum theory and stuff like that?
Different people have different definitions for it. I've researched, so many things that I've read a book on just about everything. So you tell me what you think.
Okay, that's what I'm.
If you say black holes, they don't exist.
You don't think black holes exist?
I can say that they don't exist. They were invented because Big Bang theory doesn't work. You have to ask yourself why an idea came into being. An idea comes into being and is considered part of the scientific establishment because they had a previously existing idea. So the previously existing idea came out of, and this is in my book, Chapter 9, it came out of Isaac Newton. And Isaac Newton said there's an invisible force that holds the solar system together. And everybody said, Isaac, you're crazy. There's no invisible rope holding the moon to the earth and the earth to the sun. And he said, well, I'll call it gravity, and I'll invent a math called the calculus, and I'll be able to calculate the orbit of planets around each other, and I will be correct. And he was, and they said, hooray, you're a genius, we always believed in you. Now, he defined gravity, or he described the mathematical process of interpreting the arc of objects through three-dimensional space, but he didn't tell why gravity existed. He even said, I don't know why it exists. Well, nobody has, to any real extent. But when it came time to define how the solar system and universe
Hold on. I want you to right there for a second. That's an interesting thought because I've seen, people always say, well, gravity comes from the Earth's rotation, and that's how it's simply explained away. But I've heard scientists say that that's not accurate.
Can't be accurate. Gravity exists everywhere. It can't because of anything's rotation.
So I wonder what causes it then. If it's not caused by the rotation, you know what I mean? Then what is it?
It's in my book. It's in chapter 9 of my book. It's in my book.
Shameless plug, Liam. Throw it out.
Well, buy my book, for God's sake. It's a $12.13 book that will...
Where can they buy it?
Huh?
Where can they buy it?
Amazon.com. Official stories exist to protect official stories. So chapter 9, the official story was that Isaac Newton defined this thing, and that was, I think, in the 1600s. And then after that, 17th century, nobody came forward and said, what didn't Isaac Newton have that we have, that they had in the 19th century, maybe part of the 18th? What did they have that he didn't have? Electricity. Electricity is a far stronger, far superior force to gravity. It's the electromagnetic force is 1,000 trillion times stronger than the gravitational force. That's not baked beans. That's not a little bit. That's 10 to the 39th power. Now, the reason that NASA invented wholesale BS like black holes, no mass, no apparent visible sign, infinite power, infinite gravity, give me a break. This defies every concept of existence of anything, anywhere, and they put it forward. It's just like saying Spider-Man is real because there have been 6 movies about it, Spider-Man, or 7 or 8 or however many. That's the argument. It's real because there have been movies about it. That's the argument for black holes. Black holes were drummed into thought existence, Gedank experiment, thought experiments, because gravity is such a weak force that you and I can break the force of gravity just by lifting any object off of the floor or table. The entire Earth pulls on it and we lift it, and the Earth cannot take this little stuffed lion or this computer mouse or this microphone or this camera bag. It can't lift it off. I can break all of the gravity on the Earth and lift it. And if I could build a stairway as high as the atmosphere, I could walk out of Earth's gravity easily if I had an oxygen tank and a pressurized suit. So gravity is a very weak force. Gravity doesn't explain that pinwheel shape, that fractaline shape, that repetitive shape that we have of galaxies, that you have in the whirlpool shape, that you have in the cyclone shape. Gravity doesn't explain why anything would exist because it's a clumping, messy, non-directional, non-differentiating force. It just sort of pulls in a direction and clumps. Well, what good is it? I don't know if I just lost you guys.
No, go on.
So the electromagnetic force is a differentiating force. It not only attracts from at great distance, but it repels at proximity. It forms into large panes or membranes. It forms into opposing shapes like hourglass shapes. Now, if you look into outer space, you see the hourglass shapes of galaxies. You see the pinwheel shape of galaxies, and all of this is reproducible through plasma physics, through electromagnetism. That's the force that Isaac Newton didn't have, and that's the force that makes the universe possible. So we are in an electromagnetic network. We're essentially in an electromagnetic interconnected computer network, and all of this renders the idea of asteroids, coming into Earth and bringing bacteria totally irrelevant because all of the information is being carried on the electrical signals, plowing through water, differentiating in signals through water. And anyway, if you want to blow your mind a little, go read about plasma physics. You could read chapter 9 of my book for, I think, a very good introduction to the overarching concept. And gravity then would be the accumulating electromagnetic attraction of, according to Wal Thornhill, this is his argument. He's a great plasma researcher. If you look at individual atoms and you look at the subunits, all of those little subunits will have electromagnetic attraction, and then gravity will be the cumulative radial attraction of those subunits going outward, like on a bicycle wheel, because they align and they create a. Well, anyway, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to get into all of it, but his argument is that the subtrons, which are the little parts of atoms, are themselves electromagnetic and have a weak residual electromagnetic charge, and that electromagnetic charge is cumulative as it radiates outward in a large body like a star or a planet. And so you have a weak attractive force on the surface of that body versus the strong attractive force, which is what makes galaxies stay together. That's the electromagnetic force. Anyway, there's a different argument. And black holes were invented because they're not allowed to talk about the electromagnetic force at NASA, because it would break the Big Bang Theory, which isn't a theory, but it was an idea.
Well, you would see quantum physics doesn't. I don't think if you when you start to research quantum physics and you start to look into and you actually start to listen to what some of these scientists are saying, especially now. They're saying a lot of the same things you are. They're not.
I know. Listen, I've read the Schrodinger's cat and all the other kind of stuff. I know. I'm familiar with it. But the problem is, listen, to miss one thing that's the most important thing.
But maybe they don't know. I mean, look, what did Einstein call it? Spooky action.
Well, Einstein was wrong. I mean,
I know, but there's obviously some connection there, some whatever.
But special relativity was wrong, and Einstein argued that space would curve because of gravity, but that's not. He
didn't believe quantum physics either. He said they had a little bit of it right, but they were missing something.
Right, and he was missing something.
Well, I think they're all missing something. I don't think anybody's figured it out quite yet.
Well,
to be quite honest.
You should look at plasma physics, because at least it will give you a stable argument for the way that space is shaped, for the way that galaxies are shaped, for the way that stars work. Instead of nuclear explosions in space, how does that make sense? There's a nuclear explosion that goes on for trillions of years.
Well, an explosion would require oxygen to create.
It's nonsense.
Yeah, and there's no oxygen in space. It's a vacuum. So how is that possible?
It's not. It's totally unreasonable. And anyway, stars are much hotter away from the surface than they are on the surface, and they call this one of the problems that they have left to deal with. You can't understand AIDS unless you talk about AZT. The same way because AZT killed the majority of AIDS patients in all of late 20th century history. And nobody who's sane can deny that. That's what happened. The majority of people who were given an HIV diagnosis were given a drug called AZT that killed their stomach, killed their liver, and killed their bone marrow in very short order, sometimes in a week that it happened. Keith Haring took an AZT analog and was dead in a week, according to one of the founders of ACT UP. Everybody famous who died, who you heard of dying, was on AZT. So you can't understand what happened in AIDS unless you understand AZT, and I don't think you can understand. I don't think we can talk reasonably about outer space or any of that kind of stuff unless we understand that plasma is the fourth state of matter. It's an electrically charged state. It's a fluid state of matter. It forms membranes and opposite and cells, just like our. It's named for its life-like qualities. Plasma, similar to blood. You would think it was very, very cool. And you might make connections with all of the stuff they're reaching for in the quantum physics, which I just think needs to come around to plasma physics. And then they'll go, oh, okay, I get it now.
Did I miss something?
No, not at all.
Oh, we were having when the internet gremlins. Yeah, when the internet gremlins came and attacked you, we were having.
No, it wasn't the internet gremlins. It was the aliens.
Oh, that's who it was. They abducted you.
They just came down and took me right out of the conversation.
Did they give you? They didn't probe you at all, did they?
Coffee enema. I'm feeling better.
Well, what we were saying was The Wolf of Wall Street is a not-to-be-missed movie. And if you haven't seen The Wolf of Wall Street...
Are you getting $1 per watch on that movie or something?
I wish that I would, because I would have made $4 so far.
You really like that movie, Liam. Wow.
I think that Martin Scorsese, even though he's roundly recognized as a great entertainer, is really is either the Dickens or he's not Jonathan Swift, but he's not quite the Shakespeare. Well, he might be. I think that history will be very kind to him because I think that he tells great truths, and they're ugly tacky, heartless truths, and they're funny. He's very funny. And I when I was growing up, Scorsese made really ugly movies like Mean Streets that just were, just cut your throat, while you watch them. They were so grotty.
Yeah, but see, there's still humor in it.
There is.
There's still some humor in it, because even the darkest stuff, you have to find a little bit of humor in it, and that's what Joni and I are actually talking about in the first hour. Like, you still have to find some humor in everything. When I was a firefighter, we had grim humor. Same thing when I was in the military.
Oh,
jokes I would not repeat in public, because people would probably not understand the full context of it. But it was our way of dealing with some of the horrific stuff we saw. We got about a minute left, guys. Joni, I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on.
You're welcome.
And hanging out. And I want you to shamelessly plug all your stuff first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
Plug away, minus the coffee enema. Homegrown Health airs on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on naturalnewsradio.com. You can check me out on Facebook as well, Homegrown Health. And 180 Radio, I do a show called Naked with Joni Abbott. So go to 180radio.com and subscribe there. It's all about music. It's not about homegrown health. It's a different side of me.
Nice. See? There's multiple sides to us. Liam, shameless plugs really quick.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's just fun to be back, and let's do it again. I plugged my book. You can find me at liamscheff.com. Just look me up, and you'll see where the pharmaceutical companies have left skid and track marks all over my face. You can look up my new article at omsj.org.
Thanks for coming on, guys. We are out, ladies and gentlemen.